Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Welcome back. Let's go ahead and continue.
For the response saying is contextual, and maybe you would redraw the lines, the boundary lines, but we let you have that freedom. I'll take some more questions.
What is your views on the food intake on Hinduism, on vegetarian and non-vegetarian?
Okay. This is a very crucial question. You see, sometimes when we don't understand the deeper aspect of religion, we might fall on the superficial. So when sometimes people get walked up saying, unless you are vegetarian, you're not a Hindu. I say, oh dear, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Majority of Hindus in India, they did a survey recently. Majority of Hindus in India eat either fish or meat or seafood. Majority of Hindus in India are not vegetarian. Nobody's done the survey in the United Kingdom, but I'm pretty sure that even larger majority of Hindus in the United Kingdom eat some kind of meat or egg products or something.
Real quick question. Sorry to pause so soon, but really quick question. Is majority of India vegetarian? Or is it majority just a mix? I can look that up, but I'd rather you guys let me know as well, because I don't know if the reason why I ask is because, yes, I can look it up, but I just don't know how true the sources are. So I'll always, this is what I say to everyone, please get your sources from more than just one source. I like to know what the people's opinions are as well, on top of what statistics and things show, because this shows whether how people feel about their country versus how the country is seen statistically. It's a bit of a different thing. That's the reason why I always ask people's opinions, because people's opinions sometimes differ from the actual facts, or from what potentially are not quite facts, or things that are maybe old data. You know, that's the reason why I always ask. I get a consensus from a lot of different sources, especially people's opinions, and then I kind of get an idea. That's the reason why I always ask.
Now, would I say that because you eat this, you are no longer Hindus, I'm going to chop you off? There'll be no Hindus left. It's not, I'm not compromising just because there'll be no Hindus. I'm simply saying, recognize the truth. We are given reverence to say, okay, one animal we won't eat. Sacred. Cow. Leave it alone. No beef. But I know lots of Hindu youth in London who happily go into McDonald's. What can I do? I say, you're horrible monsters. I'm going to cut you out of my society. We recognize our limitations. So we do not, what I'm trying to say, do not overemphasize. Why is vegetarianism important? Not because it came out of the Hindu scripture. The reason why we say is this. There are lots of health benefits. We are fully aware of them. And there's the idea of reverence for life. So we are saying plant life is at the lowest end of the evolutionary chain. So if you want to eat on living things, eat on that. Animals are too close for comfort. They're almost getting into the human chain. Eat the lowest, not the highest.
That's interesting. Sadhguru said that as well. That's very cool. Again, to people here that Hindus, Indian people, Hindu people, saying the same thing, which is pretty cool. I've not heard any scientists say this, honestly. So this is the first time ever. Well, Sadhguru said it first, and I've heard him say that, and then second time I heard it. Whether this is in fact said first from him or not, just in terms of the order of the history that I've watched it, which is very interesting. I really do want to get into fish, but fish is kind of expensive compared to beef, and beef is more significantly expensive. Well, I think fish, then beef, and then chicken, and I think Sadhguru says fish is relatively okay because it's further down the line, and I think Lakhani says there's a lot more fish. I think they eat a lot of fish, not a lot of fish, but generally speaking, if meat is eaten, I think it's mostly fish, not necessarily beef or any other type of meat.
That's why we don't eat human beings. They're too close for comfort. We're saying take it a bit further, leave the cows alone, like that. This is why you're negotiating. You see that we're drawing the line. But it's important to recognize the contextual element in this idea of vegetarianism, and do not get overworked up about it. I don't allow. There are some Hindu bodies who are very severe on me. Say, Jay, you must promote vegetarianism. I said I can promote it on health grounds. I can promote an idea of cruelty to animals. You see, meat eating involves cruelty to animals. We know that. They are real. Animals bred for human consumption are treated very poorly. We know about these factory farm methods. We are all aware of it. In fact, if you've been exposed to it, you will stop eating meat, most of them. We are aware of that. Recognize that, but see it in context. Do not make it an absolute requirement to be a Hindu. Do not make it that. You destroy the validity, the vast ideas of Hinduism, turning into a vegetarian menu. Don't do that. I won't allow that.
To me, like making this kind of requirements is mandated requirements, let me put it that way. It seems very much like Abrahamic religion, where you must do this, you must do that. It's so strict. Don't get me wrong. I think people should say, look, we understand that you need to eat to survive. If possible, steer away from that, but we understand that it's not always possible. Compassion. That's the reason why I really, really genuinely, I don't know if I say Hinduism, fall towards Hinduism, but Advaita Vedanta more specifically, but with some caveats in Advaita Vedanta. I mean, put it this way, I feel so much closer to that than I do any of the Abrahamic religions. It's just so strict, so I don't know. It's so strict, so questionable in a lot of ways for me. When I was younger, obviously you're susceptible to following your parents' beliefs. I somewhat did, but not really strictly at all. But my parents never really took me to church or anything necessarily. Not like every day. They took me once, maybe twice. But yeah, even after growing up, it never really stuck. A good thing too, I suppose.
But this is a constant struggle I have with my own people. I take some more questions. Please feel, yes, sir.
What are the fundamental requirements to be a Hindu?
Marvelous. You see, as this religion has this vast variety of approaches in spirituality, it doesn't like to, if you like, limit itself. Recently they said, how do you define a practicing Hindu? Because they were at a Hindu school. How do you define a child that can go to the Hindu school, the first government-funded Hindu school? And they were coming up with very unusual prescription, which I had to oppose and go on Radio 4 and really oppose them in no uncertain terms. They said, in order to be a Hindu, you must visit the temple, and you must serve them and do this. I said, where do you get that from? Here is this Hindu who is not that keen to go and tinkle bells in temples. And do you mean that I am no longer a Hindu? Just because I don't visit a temple? There's no such prescription. You can worship at home or just sit in meditation at home without ever visiting a temple. You're still a perfect Hindu. Well, let me tell you a story. When I go to lots of primary schools, the children like to ask me, quiz me. One said, Mr. Lakhani, which god do you believe in? See, standard question. This is all this Ganesh and Vishnu and Shiva and Ram and Krishna and Hanuman. I must have one favorite. So they said, Mr. Lakhani, which god do you worship? And I looked the child in the eye and said, do you know which god I worship? The one that is looking at me through those eyes. And he was going, oh, got you. This is Hinduism. Seeing and serving God in man is Hinduism. So I can be a perfect Hindu without ever stepping into a temple. So if anybody says, no, you must visit a temple, I say, no. You must be vegetarian. I say, 70% Hindus are not vegetarians. How can you just discard all of them just because they're eating cakes or something? Don't do that. So how would a modern, see, this is an evolving religion. It allows its room for evolution. So what is the modern vision of, if you like, contemporary Hinduism? How would I define? I tell you how I would define a Hindu. A Hindu who is really doing justice to his religion must be pluralist. Number one, recognize there are many pathways for spiritual progress. The one that attracts him is his own special pathway, but there are many others. Different people relate to spirit in their own different way, recognizing that. Giving dignity to the rest of humanity, whether they belong to his religion or other religion, doesn't matter. It's the first requirement, religious pluralism. The second requirement I would impose as a modern Hindu is spiritual humanism. Recognizing that something very within you, you are the chip of the old block. There's something unique about you. Dignifying and recognizing your own divinity is, if you like, another way of classifying a modern Hindu. Seeing our own essential nature as one with God. We are the chip of the old block. These are the two requirements I will impose, saying this is a better way of defining a comprehensive, a contemporary Hindu. I'll take some more questions. Yeah? You want to? Yeah. Because I like the idea of reincarnation. All children love reincarnation. Yes, we like it. Can we be reborn as a butterfly? Who want to become butterflies? I say, not a clever thing to do. People will chase you with nets and then put pins in you. You want to do that? You are better as you are. Once you evolve to the human kingdom, stay here. You are better off as human being and eat chocolate cake from Asda. They are very good. Advertising as well. So don't be silly. Don't go backwards in time. Go forward. So this idea of reincarnation is very attractive. Of course, it's attractive. In fact, I think the BBC did a survey. I think 30% of the youth in the country believe in some kind of reincarnation. This was the research. They are attracted to this idea that we get another opportunity, another chance. So this is kind of central and useful. And this is not just a Hindu idea. Idea of law of karma and reincarnation are inherent in all the 4 Indic religions: Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism, and Sikhism. They are inherent. And we need to use them, because why are they useful? Let me tell you why they are useful and why the youngster will like them. Again, you see, I'll show you the strength and the weakness of the different approaches. You see, we are doing an academic study. The strength of this idea of reincarnation is that, look, what you set into motion perhaps did not come to fruition. Suppose you're practicing music, marvelous at music, and then you died suddenly at a young age. You say, you didn't get a chance to perform in Royal Albert Hall. Terrible. But the Hindus say, don't worry. You'll be reborn. At the age of 5, you'll be looking for a piano in your nappy still and start practicing, and you'll carry on from where you left off. So what hard work you put in, the discipline you put in, will bear fruit in the second life you have, because it'll be your natural tendency. You'll be musically driven. So what you set into motion will continue in the future lives. So you'll come to fruition. So it seems like a fair system.
That would indicate of some type of memory, though, right? Being passed down from your previous life to your next life. Because I remember looking up some videos on reincarnation, and it's usually your memories are not. It's been a little bit. There's not too many videos that I've watched of this. I watched a few, and they were still kind of like, not sure if I fully understand. I don't think I fully understand it. Clearly, I don't. But from what I hopefully understand is that the body and the memory stays with the body, and then the soul or Atman is the one that, in a sense, transfers. I forgot what it's called. I can't remember what it's called. It's been a while. The terminology that are used in that are not very familiar with me, because it's not something that I necessarily care to. I won't say care to study, but it's not something that I don't think I can say much on, because I can't really form an opinion about it, because it's just, this is what they believe that happens, and I have nothing to say about that, because it's not something that affects necessarily this life, or I don't know how to explain that. It's just there's really nothing for me to say. I mean, I would love to watch it and understand it, absolutely, no problem there, but to make a comment on it, I don't really have much to say, other than I don't believe in reincarnation. The end. Now, that's to say that because I have no experience of it and I have no proof of it, so I'm not just going to merely believe in it. And there's not enough evidence out there to say maybe I believe in it a little bit. Well, actually, there's some, but I still don't know about that evidence, because it could be falsified. That's the problem. People falsify a lot of stuff, and I don't know if this is true. It'd be freaking amazing if it was, but there's just not enough out there for me. But with this, what it's saying, and I've heard this a few times in some of the karma videos, because karma is based on, what is it, karma? Because obviously your karma will transfer from body to body, and depending on which belief it is, you have to exhaust all your karma before you can be enlightened, I believe. Or once you become enlightened, you don't have to exhaust all your karma. Sadhguru says that there's a way for them to exhaust your karma to be enlightened, to be free, or to, once you realize who you truly are, then karma no longer matters. But anyways, for me in this one, look, if I die and I don't learn the things that I want to learn, that sucks. But I accept the fact, because I understand. I understand that maybe I don't have enough time. I understand that maybe I didn't put in effort. I understand that maybe, it wasn't it wasn't for me. Even though I wanted to do it, maybe I wasted my life. I understood that. I accepted that fact. So I'm not gonna be like, oh no, I didn't get to learn how to play the piano, which I do want to learn how to play the piano, just so I can play Beethoven. But you know, if I don't learn it, then I'm not gonna cry about it or anything. If I can learn it, I will try to. If I can't, then I can't. That's gonna be for the most things in life. With that in my mindset, I don't suffer from not accomplishing goals. It may seem like laziness. It could be that, but I don't think so. But if you have this mindset to where you accept the realities of your condition and your situation, and you basically don't suffer from it, then don't know if that's necessarily enlightenment or a path to enlightenment. I know not suffering is, well, I hope a path to that. So by understanding that, okay, I want to learn how to play a piano, there's no pianos close by, I have to actively look for a piano or a piano teacher, but I don't have time for that because I have other things I have to do in life. Then if you have these understandings that you can logically put into your mind, you're like, okay, this is, and you become almost like, well, it's too bad I didn't get to learn to play a piano, but I had other things that are more important in life. Then you can reduce your suffering. Again, that's what I preach: reduction of suffering.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm not fighting on theology. I'm simply saying seems like a fair system to relate to. That's a strength. What's the weakness, you might think? There is a weakness. You see, this idea of life after death. Let's look at the three important traditions. The atheist, the humanist. They say, look, Jay, one life. All your airy-fairy spirit nonsense, don't bring it to us. They are the best of my friends, by the way. And the best review for the primary school book came from the British Humanist Association, so we are doing very well with them. So, Jay, life before death count, not life after death. Stop wasting your time. Focus on this life here and now, make the most of it. Now, you see, look at this as an academic study. What's the strength of this particular point of view? It will fashion the way you lead your life. It makes this life very precious. It says every second is precious. Use it to the full. Enjoy it to the full. So every moment has been turned golden. This is the strength of the atheistic approach. Value it. The weakness is it doesn't give you a direction because you know it's going to just get snuffed out at the end of the day. So it doesn't give you that comfort zone. That's all right, we'll take the risk. David Hume said, we'll take the risk, we don't mind. I will just lead this life, there's nothing. Let them be. See, they are understanding their own, this is their worldview. Let it be. The Hindus don't feel worried about it. That's good for you. Lead a good life, full life. Then you have the Abrahamic tradition saying two worldview. What is the strength and what is the weakness? Think about it. The strength is this. They tell you, depending on how well you lead this life, your future is defined. If you've been a good person here, you can go to heaven and have barbecue with God. And if you've been a naughty boy here, you are the barbecue. You see, you may go, this is making fun. I make fun of Hinduism all the time. So what is the importance? The strength is this. It tells you, lead a religious life here and now. Don't risk it. If you risk it, you might end up in the wrong place. You can't risk it. You can't sit on the fence. So it makes you very focused about leading a religious life here and now. That's the strength. You must look at it in an academic manner. These are the strengths. This is why Parasit is promoted that way, because it makes you lead a religious life here and now. You can't risk it. What about the Indic tradition? Reincarnation. You get lots of opportunities to come back again and again and continue to eat your chocolate cake and carry on with music and marvelous stuff. Is there a weakness to it? Weak one. What is the weakness? It makes you laid back. Who bothers about religion? Just, if you got this Sky TV, just flick the channels. All the Indian channels are showing dancing girls day and night. The religion of modern India is not Hinduism, I tell them bluntly. It is Bollywood, dancing girls. Because you got opportunity, spirituality can wait. This life, chase after these girls, marvelous stuffs. So you see, you lose focus. I'm just showing the strength and weaknesses of different traditions. I'm doing an academic study. Now, with this idea of reincarnation comes what the gentleman asked. The law.
Oh, real quick about what he's saying there. Is that true? I mean, is Bollywood becoming very, you could say, almost like a religion? I mean, Hollywood over here, I wouldn't say it's necessarily becoming like a religion, although I've heard certain people will follow certain celebrities like a religion, like the Kardashians. The only reason why I know about them is because I keep hearing people talking about them. Not all the time. I mean, I just hear about them. I guess in some of the YouTube videos, and then I hear I hear about what's her name, Taylor Taylor Swift. That's the one. About like there's a whole bunch of Swift fans that kind of follow her like a religion as well. I don't know if it's like a religion, but there's just a very strong following. Maybe that's what he's talking about here too. I wonder if is there a strong following of Bollywood, just the idea of it, or is it particular like celebrities like they follow? That probably is the case, but to say Bollywood or Hollywood would be a little bit weird because it's not really a person, but maybe the idea of what it is. Like people want to become stars in Hollywood or Bollywood. And I'm trying to think, it still doesn't really make sense. Following people makes sense more because you have a goal to, I want to be as popular as this people or whatever. Just let me know.
Karma. What is its significance, what is its strength, and what's its weakness? The strength is this. The law of karma simply is a recognition that what you set into motion, what you do, will produce certain consequences that you have to bear. You cannot run away. Suppose I'm a disciplined person, I do well in school, I get high marks. I'm not so disciplined, I get a low mark and I go into a kind of lower paid position. So it catches up. What you set into motion will catch up with you. This is law of karma. All of us will say, sure, we believe that. That's common sense. Law of cause and effect. Personalized, but law of cause and effect. You're all not aware, yeah, it's bound to be. You see, nobody would disagree with me when I say what you set into motion is going to catch up. You've been a very disciplined person, so you get reap the benefits in days to come. But the Hindus take it a stage further. They say what you set into motion sometimes doesn't catch up now, it will catch up in your future life. You say, how does he find me? Suppose I've been a horrible person in this life. When I'm reborn, how does this thing that I've set into motion catch up with me there? It sounds like a kind of superlative. Can't be true, surely can't be true. We come with an answer. We say, do you know how it catches up? What you set into motion left an indelible mark on your psyche, on your mental mode. If you've been a nice person, suppose all your life, upright, straightforward, honest, when you are reborn, that characteristic comes with you, your inner nature, and it begins to unfold in the new life. So what you had, the discipline you had developed in the first life bears fruit in your next life because it comes with you. The seeds are carried by you. Your disciplined character, your character that you have molded, will unfold in new circumstances and it will reap the benefits. Suppose I've been a destructive fellow in this life. Suppose I've been a thief and horrible monster and murderer and nobody caught me. Good. I'm reborn. And I start off where I left off. I start killing, murdering. You see, I will see some children. As soon as they're born, they're so gentle and sweet, and they're somehow saying, what can I destroy? They come out like destroyers. They show their character at very early stage. So how does he reap the benefits? He was not caught in this life, but he'll continue what he was doing in this life in the next life, because that's his character. And there he'll get caught. So he pays a price. The law of karma will catch up with him in the future life. So in a way, this is how the law of karma is transmitted. Not because it is an external thing that kind of catches up with you, but it is carried by you. Your character takes it with you. Yes.
But you can see how the karma together with reincarnation can be misinterpreted to justify the hierarchical caste system, because you are where you are because of what you did in a past life. So the fact that you are penniless and living in a hovel is just rewards for your karma.
Yeah, I forgot. Oh yeah, Lakhani did say something about that, where he said he went in another video. He talks about how he went to India. He went to go visit, and how he saw there was poor people, begging or whatever. I can't remember what it was, but then you had this people who just said, you deserve this because of what you did in your past life. It is kind of terrible thing to say, and I get why they justify that, but then at the same time I like the way Lakhani answered that question. I would refer you to that video, but I have no idea which one it is, so good luck finding it if you want to know what he said. But I think he'll answer it here though. And Also, about he's talking about how the murderer just gets reborn. You not thinking maybe he'll be reborn back as an animal? Because he did the different steps where like talking about reborning as a butterfly. It's like, well, if you get reborn as a butterfly, people will chase you with nets and pin you. Like, well, this dude has a lot of bad karma. Maybe he'll be an animal where he's hunted. That would have been a decent, nice explanation too for that one.
You see, this is, if you like, a very superfluous understanding of the law of karma and reincarnation. Let me tell you how. And this is not something that somebody else, Hindus struggle with it too. You see, the law of karma says it is not only what you set into motion that's going to catch up with you, what you fail to do is also going to come and whack you. These are two equations to the law of karma. Not only what you do, but what you fail to do is going to come and catch up with you too. This is the second dimension of the law of karma. And most people don't know the second aspect. Let me tell you how important that is. Glenn Hoddle, marvelous example. I don't need to look at a Hindu. Looked at a disabled person. He said he's paying the price of his law of karma from his past life. And you know what happened? The law of karma caught up with him immediately. He lost his job. Now, does the law of karma teach you to become indifferent to somebody, just as like upper caste, lower caste? Does it allow you to get away with this caste idea? No. To the contrary, the law of karma says you should not become indifferent to the suffering of others, blaming it to the law of karma, because if you do that, you missed half the equation of the law of karma. We said that if you see an issue in front of you, injustice, you need to stand up and make sure there is justice here. You need to stand up for it. Otherwise, you create a bad karma for yourself by not doing what you did. Let me make this very visible, what he was asking.
Real quick, before I explain, the reason why I'm doing that and laughing is because he always does that when he talks. I'm always so worried he's going to poke his eye out. Just keep it on or just leave it off, man. I'm afraid you're going to lose an eye. You're going to miss one day because you're so focused on talking.
Suppose you go to India today, you're invited to a wedding, and you go there, lavish stuff, $100,000 being spent on a wedding, fresh flowers and feasting and dancing, and you say, marvelous stuff. And you come out of the wedding and you see a little girl standing in tatters, looking on at the festivities. And you say, this is not right, hungry. You go and get your host and say, come out, what about this girl? Do you know what he will say? He will give this limited interpretation of law of karma, the misunderstanding of the law of karma. He will say, they deserve it, they did bad karma in the last life, so they are hungry and standing outside. We are reaping the benefits of our law of karma by sitting here and feasting. You may think this is a good interpretation. This is nonsense. Because the law of karma also teaches that if you see an issue in front of you, that girl is starving, and you turn your back in the name of saying, you have created bad karma for you, you missed the second part of the equation. When you see injustice in front of you, you need to address it, otherwise the law of karma is going to bite you as well. So this idea of trying to somehow give justification to the caste system through the law of karma is utter rubbish. As the idea of caste system, hereditary, hierarchical caste system has no sanction from the scriptures of authority of Hindus. So if you use it to justify a hereditary caste system, you have misunderstood the law of karma and misunderstood Hinduism. It never gave sanction to that. To the contrary, it says if you see a problem in front, tackle it. That is what law of karma tells you. You don't turn your back on it. So this is a very crucial question, because most Hindus struggle with it. They think, well, because they are lower caste, the bad karma, let them. Nothing of the sort. If you see inequality in front of your eyes, the law of karma will say, you do something about it, otherwise it come and bite you as well. So in modern India, hereditary caste system has been criminalized. That you can't discriminate in the name of caste in modern India. And in modern UK, in the education system, I'm making sure it is pulled out, as not promoted or paraded as Hinduism. It is not. The only idea of caste in the Hindu tradition was simply this, in the Rig Veda or the Bhagavad Gita. It simply says division of labor based on age and aptitude. Every modern society uses that prescription. We start streaming youngsters depending on their ability and their age. That is the only mention to the concept of caste in the scripture of authority, the Rig Veda and the Bhagavad Gita. So this hereditary hierarchical is just atrocity committed in the name of religion. And it has to be serious. I had to address it and take it to QCA through the whole system and really pull it through and say, don't you dare teach it, because it's like teaching the Crusades as Christianity, Inquisition as Christianity. You don't do that. Or terrorism as Islam. You don't do that. These are atrocities committed in the name of the religion, but it cannot be taught as a religion. So the hereditary, hierarchical caste system, or this idea of giving it justification through law of karma, there is no such justification. It has no justification at all. Very good question. I'll take one more.
Now, just now you mentioned that like when people carry the food, so that is after about this reincarnation, and you give an example. Like some children, as soon as you look at them, they want to be gangsters.
It's light-hearted comment. It's a light-hearted comment.
From birth, they will go in that direction.
All
you think, the environment, they will put up the parents.
Yeah.
Stuff, they would have influence on them.
Yeah, that was a light-hearted comment. I'm not expecting little baby to become a gangster overnight. I'm simply saying we all exhibit different tendencies and different characteristics at birth. Even the twin, if you've got identical twins, they'll show slightly different characteristics. And the Hindus say it is not genetic mutation that produces the characters. There's something else that came before. In the theory of reincarnation, this is a bit heavy, but let me just touch on it. I think you'll enjoy this. The theory of reincarnation gives very good insight on some of these issues. Let me tell you what. In the cognitive sciences, they are struggling, saying, how come that we possess this tremendous ability, especially in modern youth, this tremendous ability to understand maths and stuff, we seem to get faster and faster and faster. Our cognitive abilities of recognizing things, verbal abilities, where do they come from? Do they come in the genes? Are they in the hardwired genetic stuff that you inherit? Where do they come from? Reincarnation said they have been built over many lifetimes. That's why you've got this love of music and focusing power. It has been transmitted through reincarnation. The hardware goes through evolution, Darwin's theory, and the software goes through reincarnation. It has got some interesting insight. You may like it. Suppose you find people with phobias, irrational fear of heights, of water, insects, animals, whatever. You try and examine it, and you say, now how do we find resolution? Why is this fellow frightened of just heights? You take him to a psychologist, and of course he has studied Freud. He says, come here, madam. My name is Dr. Freud. My son is frightened of heights. Explain. I tell you, madam, when he was a little baby, you dropped him. And since that time, he's frightened of heights. He shudders because you dropped him. The mother said, dropped him? I never dropped him. I was very careful mother. Then Dr. Freud will say, well, in that case, madam, after you had conceived the child, you fell off the stool. Now, you see, this is really stretching it. But he will do that because what else can he do? He has to try and explain it in this life, why this fellow is frightened in this life. Since he was conceived, whatever circumstance he faced somehow has fashioned his character. He has to explain it away. Then you say, no, go a bit further down. Possibly in one of the previous lives, that child or that person fell off a great height and died. While he was falling and coming to his death, that impression, that fear became part of his psyche. When he's reborn, he puts a curtain over his past life, doesn't want to remember it.
Oh, right there, real quick. We said that in his past life, he fell, and now in the new life, that fell over his psyche, an emotion. But the only thing that transfers, at least as far as I understand, in terms of from one body to the next, is just Brahman, Atman, not your emotions. This is the thing that's kind of, maybe I didn't quite understand, or obviously, but like I guess I'm trying to find an understanding. How does memory or talent or anything like that follows from one body to the next, when talent and memory are all part of the physical body? Your brain is literally just a hard drive that remembers things, and a CPU, of course, and RAM and GPU. but yeah, your mind remembers and creates emotions and all that. Atman Brahman is none of that. Now I remember, and I think in certain, maybe Buddhism, I think this again, it's something I barely touched up on, I wouldn't mind learning more about it so I can understand it better. What does transfer over from death in terms of rebirth? Just because, even though I don't believe it, I still want to know about it because I am very curious, and it'll perhaps help explain, or maybe I can see it better in people. Like, maybe that is from rebirth, or like, again, I remember seeing this video on YouTube where they explain a child remembering their past Egyptian life, and they claim the child said some things. They went to that site, dug it up, and it was all there as described. Again, anyone can make up stories. I don't know if that's true or not. I can't just sit there, I believe it. Yep, they just said it and it's true. No one should do that. Is it possible? Maybe. Doubt it at the moment.
But the moment you expose him to whites, he goes, oh, he doesn't know why. Because it's part of his character that's come in his psyche, if you like, from previous life. So it gives an explanation of why you might have phobias. It also gives an explanation of why you might have child geniuses.
Yeah.
If you ask a person, this Professor Penrose, my mentor, under whom I did my PhD, my master's in theoretical physics, was a child genius. He could solve equations at a very young age, very clever. Where did he acquire it from? You ask, well, genetic mutation, just random mutation produced this genius. No. In many previous lives, this guy was focusing on maths. And then it becomes visible in this life, like that. From a very early age, child prodigies. Reincarnation gives a deeper insight. So there are many issues that come up with reincarnation that have relevance in modern times. Cognitive sciences, phobias, geniuses can be, I'm just simply suggesting, can be better explained through the theory of reincarnation. This is my proposal. You don't have to swallow it. I'm just telling you. Take one more question. Yes, madam.
Do you have to be born a Hindu to be a Hindu?
Big problem. You see, first of all, let me tell you, these brown-skinned people make no claim of being any special. We don't have any monopoly on spirituality. We are not the chosen people in any sense. We make no such claims. In fact, we are saying spirituality is not confined to us. Other religions have their own version of it, and good luck to everybody. We mean it. It's not a patronizing comment. So there's nothing special about us. So why do you want to join us? If a Christian comes and says, Jay, I want to become Hindu, I say, no, you're fine as you are. Pluralism. Stick to your own pathway because it relates to your starting point, your culture, your background. It relates to your own background. Focus on that and progress spiritually using the pathway that suits you, that fits with your background, with your starting point. Don't change. Don't you dare come and say, don't become a Hindu. You're fine as a Christian. And when you become Hindu, you become a problem for us. Stay where you are. Sorry. Stay where you are. You are better off. So we discourage. You see, if I'm a genuine pluralist, I can never encourage people to convert to my tradition because that means I'm not a pluralist. I'm saying we are better. We are not better. In fact, as I just showed you, we are very poor. Our Bollywood is our religion now. We are struggling. So why do you want to join that? You are fine as you are. So we do not, in any sense, invite conversions. We don't like to be converted, and we don't like to convert others. Let me do a funny story.
Before it tells that story, I'll say this. I guess, for my opinion, it's like, if I was to answer that question in Jay Lakhani's turn, and I was in his mindset, I would say, you don't necessarily need to convert, but you can learn something from Hindu. I don't know what in Hinduism, but say Bhakti Yoga, more in particular, because that is very closely related to devotion to God. So focus on Bhakti Yoga with your religion in mind. You can learn a thing or two about how to be a proper devotee to Christianity. I would say that, because there's ways of practicing Christianity that works for some people, and there's some that struggle. Perhaps Bhakti Yoga may help. I don't know what it is exactly. I don't know what, I don't know the methodology of those things. I understand devotion, which is, again, the methodology of devotion is Christianity, Islam, Buddhism. All these different paths are legitimate paths to it. But I'm wondering, is there also an addition to those paths to assist with those paths, like a type of meditation, or a type of, I don't know what it is, a type of thing that helps them along that path. Because if that path's not working out for you and you need help in that path, does Bhakti Yoga itself provide an assistance to that path to help you guide you further into that path? I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Enjoy this. There's a lecturer in London who kept bothering me, a Christian, kept bothering me. He said, Jay, I want to become a Hindu. I said, no, I'm a genuine pluralist, not just making show. I mean business here. I will not let you become Hindu. He said, why not? You are chosen. I said, no, we are not chosen. You are fine as you are. Become a good Christian. Carry on. You are doing a marvelous job. No, I want to become Hindu. He kept fighting me. I had a big problem with him. And I would not agree. He said, why are you stopping me? I said, no, but this is pluralism. We don't want to change, want you to change. Then he finally said, Jay, do you believe in reincarnation? I said, sure, to be a Hindu, you need to believe in reincarnation. You are stuck with it. He said, oh, in that case, let me tell you, in my last life, I was a Hindu. In this life, I overshot my destination. I was born in the neighbor's house, and this is my problem. So I want to get back to it. Look, now you see, when you take me on at this level, and I say you win. I'm telling you a real story. So we are not saying we are special people. We do not encourage people to embrace our pathway. We say hang on to your own pathway, progress towards your destiny. Let me do a nice final story. Because Krishna was supposed to explain to you the practical part. This is the theory and high-flying stuff. Krishna was supposed to do the second session and do the bread and butter stuff for you. Otherwise you'll be in trouble in school. You can't talk all this stuff there. Let me finalize with some lovely metaphor. You see, pluralism appears like anything goes. It's not that. Because you might think this means flower power and all this going back to nature. We are not saying that. We are not encouraging any of that. We are very, very rigorous system of thought. Let me give a final metaphor you will like. Suppose I want to come out of the door and I point in the direction and I say I have to go north by northeast and take 20 steps to come out. If each and every one of you pointed to the door and decided what prescription applies to you, and then you compare your prescription with your neighbor, person sitting next to you, you say, oh dear, he's got a different direction than mine. Each and every one of you will appear to have a different prescription to reach the door. And you might come to a conclusion that, oh dear, there is no reason or rhyme. Everybody has a different prescription. That means anything goes. Anything goes. This is the weird thing about pluralism. You must make sure it doesn't become that. Pluralism doesn't mean anything goes. It doesn't say anything of the sort. It says the prescription that applies to you is binding. So what applies to me is binding. Suppose I follow his prescription, I'll hit the wall. And the same with him. He can't follow my prescription. He has to follow his own prescription. It's binding for him. So anything goes is not the resolution. The prescription which suits your own starting point is binding for you. You cannot run away from it. So if you are born as a Christian, you culturally, historically, in every sense, you have a Christian tradition from which you sprang out. Then you have a binding prescription already. Follow your prescription to its conclusion. Go there. Don't go shopping for religion. Don't be a Hindu in the morning, Buddhist in the afternoon, and Sufi in the evening. Don't do stuff like that. The prescription you have got is a tried and tested pathway for spiritual progress. Progress to your destination. Don't fight over prescriptions. We all have different prescriptions. Don't fight over prescription. Proceed to the destination.
This is where I disagree with them at, because you don't know what would work for you better unless you try them all out. But obviously by trying them out, you don't really dig very deep into them. That can be a problem as well. But imagine someone struggling with their particular path of life for 20 years and it never ever clicks, no matter what they try, no matter who they talk to. Then clearly there's something wrong with that prescription. Because you're prescribed, it doesn't mean that you should stick with it through and through, regardless of whether it works or not. I'd say that the fact that, yes, whatever you initially started with is worth a shot, and make sure that you give it a fair shot. But if it's not working out for you, then perhaps take a break from it, then get back into it, or that's probably better to do that first. Then if after taking a bit of a break and it doesn't still work out for you, then look for other prescriptions. But you know, I want to say there's a time limit or something like that, because some people will say that, and maybe there is. I don't know. I'm not one who follows those things, so I don't have a time limit on my prescription, I suppose. And what my prescription was in when I was born, I suppose, is something I never really followed. So I guess maybe that makes me a little bit different, I suppose. Again, this is where I disagree with him a bit, and to say that I would be curious to ask him this question. It's like, what if this person's been trying to follow this prescription for 20 years, seeking help in many instances, and it's just never worked out? Should he stick with that until it, I mean, well, until it works out, if it ever does work out, or can he try a different prescription to see if that might be better for him, better suited for him? For me, didn't know about Hinduism, didn't know about Buddhism until I took world religion class in college. Buddhism suited me a little bit more to understand that the life is suffering. That changed me. And then learning Advaita Vedanta here, a lot of it made a lot more sense to me, and I like it a lot more. Has it changed me? It has a bit. I don't know if some of the things I kind of already followed because of life is suffering. That's kind of the basis, I think. It's kind of a weird way to look at it, but it makes sense to me. I mean, everything that you do comes at a cost. Suffering. You want to be happy, you have to suffer to be happy. Now, mind you, you can be happy and not suffer when you're enlightened, or when you have, for me, when you have an understanding of it, then you no longer have to suffer for your happiness. So, in order for you to go on vacation, well, you need to work in a job that you might hate or don't want to do just to be able to afford to go to a vacation or to buy something. You have to work. Kind of a suffering there. Now, if you enjoy your job and get to buy that stuff, I think you hit the lottery there. Not very many people have that.
You know what's the wonderful thing about this metaphor? If I'm a genuine Hindu, proceeding to my destination, he's a practicing devout Christian, following his prescription. The more closer we get to our destination, the more sincere we are in our own prescription. As we get closer and closer to the door, we feel tremendous affinity for each other. You don't feel frightened by each other. Without knowing why, we relate to each other. We feel affinity. We have different. He's a Christian, I'm a Hindu. And yet I feel tremendous oneness with him. Why? Because we are making progress to the destination. If I'm not making progress, I'm going backwards. I will have a problem with him, I will have a problem with my own. So the final kind of lovely metaphor of pluralism is, it reflects your own starting point. Proceed to the destination rather than fight over the prescription. Progress to the destination. The aim is to hit the destination, not fight about the prescription. If you are a good Muslim, be a better Muslim. Good Hindu, become a better Hindu. You see, we have different worldviews. 2-life scenario, many life scenario, only one life scenario. Progress to the conclusion of your own particular view, and you will feel tremendous affinity with people of other faith without any compromise. This is something to test out. My experience in the field, I have tremendous affinity with Christians, with Muslims, tremendous affinity. I have no difficulty as long as they are sincere in following their own prescription. This is, if you like, the final glory of the idea of pluralism. Proceed using your own prescription. With that, I think I'll finish. Thank you very much, my friends.
Free e-learning.
All right, so let's see. So I made a lot of statements, obviously, and again, I guess the question that I had was, is majority vegetarian in India, or has that shifted now to maybe 50-50? Again, in your mind, and I guess your surroundings, do you feel that more people are vegetarian? Now, mind you, you can say vegetarian with fish, or meat, I mean, or just 50-50, you know, when I say meat specifically, I do mean beef or not fish, red meat, I suppose, or chicken. Because that makes a distinction. I'm kind of curious to see, is the population of India kind of shifting to more, I guess, I wouldn't say meatism or anything like that, but just, you know, it's just shifting to just eating anything is fine. as in, if it's beef, if it's pork or chicken or fish or whatever. They're more open with their I guess what they eat, as opposed to being restrictive to vegetarian or vegetarian plus fish. Because it's technically not vegetarian if you eat fish, because fish is still meat, I believe. That's how vegetarian, to me, how I understand it, is strictly non-meat. But there's a lot of vegetarians out there who eat vegetables, or who eats fish. The only exception is fish. I don't know if they're still considered vegetarian or not, though, but they say they are. And I do want to eat fish. I do want to try to, but it's, again, like I said, it's super expensive, though. I think fish is the most expensive, then beef, then pork, then chicken. Chicken's the cheapest. Anyways, that's my reaction to understanding Hinduism for Christians and Muslims. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.